ancient voice, whispering from the void, and it chills my lightless heart.
G'day ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a bit of a different type of replay here that we're going to have a look at. As you can see, if you can see the minimap, this is not your standard sort of game that I would normally cast, but this is apparently going to be quite grand, quite epic, you know, quite mega, if you want to say that, because that's my fun wordplay on the fact that this map is actually megaton. This is going to be a 4v4 that was sent through to me just today, actually. I just gotten home, and we're going to have a look at this one straight up. I have not watched this. It is quite long, as you can probably see from the timer on YouTube. It does go for quite a while, so make sure you are strapped in tight, because apparently this is very cool. So let's go through the players here. I'll let you know who the player is who actually sent me the replay once we get to him. First player here down in the bottom on team, we'll call it team 1, down in the bottom left side of Megaton is Mass as the purple Protoss. We've got Natholomas as the blue Zerg. Like I said, I haven't actually watched this, guys, so this is all fresh to me. SkavengerNYC as the teal Protoss over here. Then we have over here in the red Terran Prateek, who will be the red Terran just up the front of the map. So we'll go through the map sort of things in just a second. And one thing that I will need to keep in mind, guys, is that I can't always have the production tabs and all these various tabs up at all the time, because it probably will cover half the screen. So just please keep that in mind and don't rage about the tabs not being up. Team 2, which will be the we'll call them the home team, because this is where the replay has come from. The pink, light pink sort of color Protoss here is KillaZerg. A teammate over here, yellow Terran. Is that yellow? I don't know, man. I'm colorblind. I think it's yellow. Yeah, that's yellow. DukeLipy, and the actual replay sender, friend of mine, is Rice, who is the green Terran over here. And then the final player in this 4v4 is this orange Protoss over here, Dlanor, or something like that. I don't know, but it looks as if Dlanor, I'm going to have real trouble pronouncing that, is going to be doing some cannoning, because we do have a probe out here. A forge is already done. I'm not really sure if this is going to be some sort of forge proxy, but none of these players really going for, apart from Dlanor, I'm just going to call that dude Dlanor just because it's easier to say, have actually, there's no real proxies or anything like that, although I suppose that actual spawning pool is up a little bit quickly, but we'll see what happens. We've got KillaZerg not doing nothing too fancy here. A couple of gates are up, a couple of racks are up as well. This one is going to be a little bit interesting to cast, guys. Obviously, I've never casted a 4v4. 2v2s I've done, but never a 4v4. So we'll try and keep on top of everything. My bad if I miss things. I might put some pictures if I do miss anything. Looks like Dlanor's coming over here with this probe. Not going to be doing anything fancy with the probe, but as I said, it did look at the start like that was going to be some sort of cannon play. But nothing for the moment. The probe's actually probably going to die if it gets caught out here, and indeed it does. Nearly dies to those few Zerglings that came out quite quickly there, but the Zerglings retreat to hold the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Now, let's just quickly go over this map. If you haven't actually played 4v4s, this can be a really interesting map, depending on where you spawn and how good your opponents are at controlling specific parts of the map. As you can see here, there is one player who is right up the front of the main sort of base. All the bases are connected for your team, so there's one ramp across to one side, and then there is another ramp down to the other side, which is a lot bigger, which is generally where attacks will come from. They'll come up through the bigger sort of gate that's there, and you'll generally see that sort of thing. So generally what happens in these 4v4s is the players at the back, this is, now I'm sort of going based off pub play because it's hard to get a proper 4v4 team going, but generally the players at the back will try and sort of mass up and tech up or whatever, something like that, because they obviously have the harder position to get to, while the players at the front will have to worry about defending, firstly, the cliff area here, and this one here, which can be taken advantage of quite a lot, and also making sure that the ramps are protected, as you can see here with these two players walling off this one quite nicely. So this map, from what I have experienced, if you have different experiences, make sure you post, let me know what happens. Generally, if this map actually gets through the quite early game, like before the sort of mass rush period, which you generally have in team games, it will actually go a long, long way. And as we mentioned before, this one certainly does go a long way. And to be quite honest, at the end of the game, the fights will generally become about this expansion here, this one, which the bottom right team will look to control, and also this one over here. It's essentially the reflection version of it over here. Are the ones that will become the main points of contention throughout the whole game near the end, especially. So it's something to keep in mind here. Now, let's just go back to the tech, and what we're seeing here is KillaZerg's tech straight up to Colossi. Two gates are the only things that are done here. A lot of minerals banking up here at the moment, and it looks as if Dlanor has actually just stepped out of that forge tech, of course, to make sure that nothing too bad actually happens, although he has chucked down a pylon over here. Not the greatest position, I would say, given that now that probe is actually stuck. But either way, one thing to note as well that I forgot to mention in the little map analysis there is that there are these 3 Xel'Naga watchtowers. So you've got one here, which covers this area, which sort of covers that gold up in the corner, and then does cover a little bit of this, there's some tall grass there, which you can use for surprise attacks, and you can see sometimes if your opponent is moving up through here as well. So you've got pretty much the exact same thing, of course, over here, where it can see a little bit of the tall grass and a little bit of this gold. And then, of course, the main one in this whole map is this Xel'Naga watchtower right here, which Natholomas has under control for the moment. So this one can obviously see the main attacks that come through the middle here, and of course any sorts of flying units, if you're not careful, will be spotted through there. So we've got DukeLipy just sending out one Marine. I'm not really sure what this Marine thinks he's going to do, but a SCV is going to come out as well. It looks as if he might be heading out to perhaps see if he can have a look at the Xel'Naga watchtower and maybe build something there to bunker up, something like that. Not really sure, but we're getting all sorts of pings. I'm going to sort of look at pings and see what we're doing. And as we can see here, KillaZerg doing a great job scouting out with an observer, spots a spy straight away and knows that the mutas will be on the way shortly. Now, we do have an expansion down here from our Protoss player, Mass, on Team 1, who has taken this expansion quite quickly. There are only a couple of expansions up just at the moment, but all the Protoss players doing a great job grabbing some cannons. In this particular matchup, in these 4v4s, you really want to sort of grab some cannons if you can. I don't mean cannon up and be a total turtle. I just mean grab some cannons and just make sure you have some supplemental defense at your expansions. KillaZerg not deciding to go with that mantra and actually has just a couple of Colossi out quickly to guard this expansion. Meanwhile, just over on the other side, we have Dlanor actually taking his expansion quite quickly, which is a little bit surprising, given that he was a little bit behind on tech and everything like that. But it looks as if we have some stalkers moving through the middle of the map here to making sure they take control of the Xel'Naga watchtower. We have the observer still spotting around, just seeing that the Natholomas has actually taken his expansion as well. A lot of Zerglings are the only things that Natholomas has out at the moment. Of course, he's probably going to spend most of his money and gas in the tech of the mutas. So we have a nicely sized force here. One thing to note in team games is that it will generally be about who can actually mass up the correct types of units. You will generally see Terrans will only ever go for Marine Marauder, and Protoss will grab a lot of Stalkers. And as we can see here, the Marines doing a great job ripping through all these Stalkers, of course, as they do. The Stalkers walking up trying to see what they can take out, but it looks as if Team 1 is actually going to retake control of the Xel'Naga watchtower there. And meanwhile, we do have an attack force of Hellions coming down here. I do not believe they have Blue Flame. They may actually have it. No, they don't just yet. Now they do. So these Blue Flame Hellions are going to do a great job against these Zerglings here. Coming across, burning all of them up. He's going to take out some of these drones as well. Nice job there. You want to retreat now with those Hellions so you don't actually lose them. And he is going to pull them back. Maybe loses one to a Stalker. No, actually gets that one away. So that's pretty good. Nice little job there. Roasting up some Zerglings, having a little barbecue down in the right side of the map. And back to what I was saying about the actual map. Oh, we actually have some other Hellions here as well. So these Hellions are ripping up every single probe here from Mass. And Mass has got just an absolute graveyard of probes there getting absolutely destroyed. And it looks as if some of the drones here from Natholomas actually got roasted up as well. Although the Hellions have now been cleaned up by them. The Marauder Marine and Mutalist combo. That's a triple M of a different variety there. But it looks as if Prateek has actually decided to take his expansion over as this one at the gold. Not the greatest position, especially when you have nothing coming over to defend, and most of his forces are actually inside the main base, so he's not going to have any way to deal with these Hellions. But of course the Hellions shooting at bunkers, which will take him about 6 years to finish up the destruction of these bunkers, and by that time the forces of Prateek will be over here and ready to defend that one. So nothing really too much lost there. The mutas have now been are now out on the map and probably going to do some harassment if they can. I would not be surprised to see some cannons going up here from Dlanor. Let's just quickly have a look at the tech here from Team 2. We've got some cannons out here. We got nothing really too much from a tech perspective from Dlanor. He's obviously spent a lot of it in getting his expansion up as soon as he possibly could. Colossi extended thermal lance is almost done for KillaZerg, and KillaZerg has certainly got a few forces out here, got a few Colossi down defending the cliff area, and then obviously some gateway units down here at the expansion as well. Meanwhile, up here in the base of DukeLipy, he's just gone... What's he going for? He's gone for just a lot of racks, pretty much. Grabbed a few racks, got some reactors, got a starport here, and a factory, both of them with reactors as well. And as we can see, all those racks actually pumping out a huge amount of Marines. So looks as if Team 2 is going to head out into the middle of the map here. But as we can just see on the ping there, looks as if Natholomas has come across the Rice's base. No turrets up at the moment. No Thors around either, although there is an armory, so we may see a Thor eventually. But nothing too much happening here. It looks as if these mutalisks are going to clean up a lot of these SCVs, and while we've got that going, an attack is coming into the main base of Team 1. A lot of the Marines with Stim, they are able to take out the Stalkers and the Void Rays as well. The Colossi now coming in, that they are protected from that attack, and it looks as if these Colossi are going to do a great job of burning away the assimilator there, which is of course a massively important building for Protoss. And of course, as you can see here, some Phoenix coming in, not Phoenix, the Banshees coming in here from Rice. That's all he's really got at the moment, because he did lose a lot. The Mutalist still flying around, causing all sorts of trouble here. Rice in big trouble in his economy position, because as we can see here, his harvesters have been reduced to 11, but it looks as if these Mutalists will be brought down. The Marines coming in to save the day there. A lot of Stalkers and some Colossi from Mass actually coming across to counter the Colossi from KillaZerg. These Stalkers are going to have to be really careful here, these Colossi as well. They need to get in good position, and he is doing that, burning away some of these drones. The drones are getting roasted up there, and it looks as if some Mutas and Colossi will be able to finish off this attack at the front here from KillaZerg. So, nice little frontal attack there from Team 2, doing a lot of damage there to the forces of Protoss here, and it looks as if Rice is still in here with his Banshee, actually killing off a lot of probes and even finishing off that Nexus, which is a great little position to be in. And of course, as we can see, a lot of these Void Rays still pumping out from Scavenger. So just back to the tech quickly, what we've got here at the moment, Rice just going for all sorts of buildings here. He's got some factories, he's got a starport, he's got some racks, and a couple of Thors have now been pumped out. He's going to need to stick with his SCV production for the moment, because as we mentioned before, he has been brought down a whole heap, so he's going to need to get that all up and running again. And it's sort of all done for the tech there on that team. Just noting that DukeLipy has actually taken this gold base, taking advantage of the fact that he can plop down a few mules and they'll just absolutely eat up those gold minerals. Hellions not having a good time poking around at these Colossi. Of course, the Colossus with extended thermal lance now from Mass, and he's actually going to be able to get rid of this pylon, which has done absolutely nothing the whole game. But either way, he's knowing that the Colossi are coming up to this side of the map, and it looks as if KillaZerg is going to attempt to come across and try and defend. Now, just before we go to the tech of Team 1, one thing I was going to mention before was that you actually do need to try and keep your armies together. That's one big factor in team games, is making sure that your armies stay with each other, so that you actually have a really potent force. Now, these Hellions coming in here, doing a great job roasting away those probes. They do get rid of some of the probes, and so it was a nice little attack there. They do get finished off, but it looks as if the attack on the gold base of DukeLipy was successful and did actually get rid of that command center. Although these Colossi coming in as well, and also doing a great job against the reinforcement units of DukeLipy, and he actually lost a whole heap of Marines and some SCVs there. Meanwhile, the Stalkers and Colossi coming in to finish them off. Mutalisks, again, were trying to fly around the map and pick off what they could, but it looks as if Dlanor was actually prepared for that, had some Stalkers in the middle shooting down a lot of these Mutalisks. And we'll have a quick look at the tech from Team 1. Natholomas still sitting on the Spire tech, and that is absolutely it. Interesting to see that he actually has very little Mutalisks now that they have been smashed apart by the Stalkers. Meanwhile, Mass doing a great job here, grabbing a whole heap of Colossi. He looks as if he's just going to do his bit of his namesake there and just mass up Colossi. Meanwhile, over here we have Prateek going once again sort of standard sort of build with some random unit buildings there, but we do have a fusion core, so it looks as if we will see some battle cruisers, and in fact we do see one battle cruiser here. Meanwhile, it looks as if there's an attack coming in on the base of Natholomas, once again being the victim of being this Zerg in this terrible position here. Want to buy Stalkers. There are just so many Stalkers here. Do not want to really engage that with any sort of force for the moment, especially if they've got Blink. And it looks as if Dlanor's Dlanor's Stalkers do actually have Blink, so he's in a great position here. KillaZerg slacking off a bit on the micro there, not pushing in with the Stalkers, and it looks as if the Void Rays and the Colossi are able to finish off the Stalkers of Colossi, but now we still have KillaZerg's Stalkers to deal with. Not in a great position there. The Void Rays are now getting powered up, but they will probably be shot down. There's Thor in the back from Rice doing a great job here. Some more Banshees coming in from Rice as well that are cloaked, and they will be able to shoot down any ground units are here. However, there aren't any at all. These Void Rays are the only thing dominating the skies there, although these Thors have got something to say about that. And it looks as if they have cleaned up all of those Void Rays. The Banshees now cleaning up those ground units. As we mentioned, these Void Rays are doing a stupid idea, actually just flying into this force of Thors and Stalkers, and it looks as if this will be a nice little push here from Team 2. Rice's Thors doing a great job there, and finally Prateek comes across with his forces that were all the way on the other side of the map, and they have been ripped apart by the Colossi, just sitting off at the back here, doing a great job of burning up those Marines and Marauders. But it looks as if eventually Team 1 will come out as the victors of that battle, although to be honest, you know, it's a bit of a hollow victory, because as we saw here, Natholomas actually lost his expansion. He's attempted to take this gold, which is quite clever, but he's still way down in tech. He essentially has no useful tech, no hive tech on the way, nothing like that, and his economy is in absolute shambles, as you can see here, with 12 drones, and that is it. So if he actually loses this gold expansion and loses the drones that may be at it, he will be in a terrible spot. So we see on the map here, Scavenger has actually come across here and taken this gold expansion. Looks as if Prateek is still held on to this one for the moment here. Not many SCVs here though, so he's only got 14 SCVs as well, because most of his got roasted up at the expansion there. A little bit surprised that none of Team 1 have actually taken this expansion, which is a bit weird to see. But let's have a look at what the composition is from the Team 2 players. We've got Rice with some Thors, some Marines, Marauders, and a couple of Hellions still pumping out. Some more Thors coming down the ramp there, being all macho and everything like that. Some Dlanor Stalkers here, more warping in there. They do, of course, have Blink, so they will be quite useful against the Marines and the Marauders and the Void Rays that are coming out from Team 1. As it seems, looks as if Scavenger base has been spotted. This huge Thor Marine force is going to come across here and make short work of this expansion. This is probably going to go down. I'm not really sure about this one though. Prateek might be safe here for the moment. Reinforcements are coming across from Team 1 to the expansion there. As we can see, some Colossi, some Stalkers, and some other various units are going to be alongside their brothers here of the Marauders and Marines, or will be able to hold off that attack. But it looks as if we do have an attack on the other side of the map here. Stalkers and Colossi coming across, taking out that base from Natholomas. He is in a terrible position right now. He has absolutely no income, essentially, because he's only got these drones, and that's about it. And we do have another big battle here. We've got some Guardian shields going off, protecting the ground units there. The Thors are wailing away at some of these units, although they are shooting at this battlecruiser now, but they have taken way too much damage, and this is a great little force here from Team 1 with some Colossi, a battlecruiser, and some random Terran ground units doing a great job of deflecting that attack on the gold expansion of Prateek. And it looks as if we've got KillaZerg once again marching in here. Stalkers still don't actually have Blink, so unless there's some decent micro, these Void Rays might be able to do a good job here. The Colossi are pushed off to the side, doing a great job there. Looks as if these Stalkers may be able to take out these Void Rays eventually. Some Marines will also be coming in as well. It looks as if Mass is actually attempting to come across here, senses there may be a bit of a weakness in this side of the map, pushes in and attempts to do what he can on that side. Meanwhile, just back in the main base here, Stalker's coming across. That's Natholomas' last few units that are dying there. These Colossi have decided to go the long way straight around. There are a whole heap of Zerglings here. I'm not sure if they'll actually make it. Scavenger has left the game, so that is enough. He has been defeated. His mass Void Rays that just fly into random anti-air units have been defeated. I'm really surprised that happened. The Colossi, however, from Mass have come back to defend the main base. If they can hold it off, this will be a good defense for Team 1. However, it looks as if with these Mass Marines and the Colossi that were over here, they've done a decent job of doing a lot of damage here. And as we can see here, they're just running around causing all sorts of havoc, trying to keep away from the Colossi, which will burn them up if they get too close. And as you can see, the Marines are slowly but surely going down. They're trying to take out what they can. Doing a great little job microing these ones is DukeLipy, but unfortunately he doesn't actually kill that robotics facility. So he does not actually get too much done there in the end, even though he did do a lot of damage. So as we can see on the production tab, we have a whole heap of upgrades coming along from Rice. He's got his +1 to vehicle, +2 to vehicle weapons, in fact, +1 to infantry, and of course the +1 to armor of the infantry as well. So he's certainly going to have some decent upgrades once those are done. His Thors and ground units, sorry, not the Banshees, will be doing a nice amount of damage. DukeLipy trying to size up his army here. We've now run out of bases, so as we can see here, this expansion is still waiting to be mined up. The guys from Team 2 will probably be looking to take that. This one is still waiting to be mined out, and it looks as if Prateek has been going to town on all of the gold over here. So looks as if DukeLipy, as you can see in the chat there, is running a little bit low on his minerals, of course, because he has now mined out and lost a lot of his Marines, and it looks as if his SCVs are trying to come into battle here. I'm not really sure if this is the greatest plan, but it looks as if Dlanor is actually going to try and take the Zelnaga Tower by force, chucking down a whole heap of cannons. Not the greatest idea to put them in this sort of arc formation, because they can be picked off one at a time, even if they're just basic units, not the Colossi, which of course outrange the cannons. Even if they were basic units, you would still be able to rip up those cannons because they were in that arc formation. Looks as if Natholomas is actually doing his last hurrah, sending in some Zerglings here. Not really too much there that's going to do anything at all, but it looks as if he's going to retreat. He obviously sees that there's this huge force from both DukeLipy and KillaZerg who will deflect that attack, and it looks as if DukeLipy has actually taken this expansion down here, essentially in the face of Team 1, taking this expansion. And check this out, Natholomas still actually has his extractor here. This is a little bit of BM, I would say, if you wanted to look at it that way, taking this base here. But of course, Team 1 is going to march in here with some Colossi. Essentially, some of the only forces left are those from Mass, with his Zealots and Colossi still roaming around the map doing a lot of damage, and it looks as if he will be able to take all of this out, which means that DukeLipy will be in a bit of a bad position here. He's now down to 26 SCVs, and of course, given this actual map, this is not totally a bad thing, given how low everyone's worker count is. We've got a drop coming in here, as you can see as well, which is going to pretty much put to rest Natholomas, given that he's going to lose all of these drones here. Natholomas now down to 11 drones, and he's going to be almost catching up to perhaps to DukeLipy, but DukeLipy, as you can see on the tab there, is on 3 SCVs. That's all he's got. It's interesting that some of these guys on the lower side of the tab are the only ones with workers at the moment, but it looks as if we do have 1 drone left. 5 drones now, 6. He's pumped up a couple, so it looks as if Natholomas has pumped up a few drones there. He may be able to get a little bit of a mineral income, as we can see here, although of course there's not really much left at this expansion. So let's have a quick look at what everyone else is doing. Mass is still going quite nicely. He hasn't got this expansion here, but of course, actually, because even though Scavenger has left, the minerals that are coming in from these probes will still be accumulating and being passed on to Team 1. So Mass has this expansion, and he's now finally taken this expansion here, so he's still in a nice little spot there, still getting a decent income. Looks as if, however, the last little bit of income for Prateek may be going down here. He's going to be losing a lot of these buildings that he has, along with this command center, which could be one of the final blows to Prateek. He's got, oh, actually have a look at that bank. He has a huge bank on him. He's got 3,000 minerals along with 2,000 gas, so he's certainly not in a position to just die straight away. So I'm not really sure where all of his units are. I think he actually lost some of them in an attack just up here. But as you can see, the main force for Team 1 is, of course, Mass. He has done a great job of massing it, actually. And he is going to be the main one who will be defending the map for Team 1. And as we can see here, we have KillaZerg, once again, probably one of the higher players in this whole match, has been doing a great job of keeping the income flowing nicely and keeping the pro production up along with the army production. As you can see here, 60 billion stalkers along with a few zealots will be marching into the base of perhaps to the base of Team 1 there and seeing what they can do. We have not too much happening over here. We've got Dlanor with a few stalkers, some DTs mixed in there as well. DukeLipy with his final forces over here, just trying to stick around with his team, making sure the team is protected. Rise of Rice is doing a great job here of picking up some Thors, making sure that the air is safe for any of the Team 2 units. And there's one little Thor stuck here. Perhaps that one is actually stuck in the buildings. I'm not really sure. But either way, let's have a look at what else is going on the map. Dlanor running around. Team 2 is actually just running around randomly. I'm not really sure what's going on here. It looks as if DukeLipy has had enough, and he's actually sending his units in here. Let's have a look at the cam. We've got... we are currently in DukeLipy cam. He's just running around the map, just seeing what he can do. He's going to keep his forces. He's want to keep them with Rise of Rice there. And meanwhile, over here, KillaZerg actually keeping these stalkers on the map and keeping them nicely positioned. So we've got just sort of nothing too much happening here at the moment. For some reason, Natholomas has put down another hatch. I'm not really sure what the point of that is. He can't actually have many units. So it looks as if we may have a big battle coming in here. Rice, not the greatest idea to march into that Colossus force, but it looks as if he will be there. Not actually getting any support from DukeLipy, who is, of course, in a terrible position himself. Cannot engage this many Colossi with all of these Marines and Marauders, of course, as we can see here. But they will certainly give it a go. But it looks as if the only saving grace for Team 2 now, this may be a battle of the Protoss forces here, with KillaZerg doing a great job, as we mentioned before, with these stalkers. Might want to blink them back, but still no blink, actually. So these Zealots are currently sitting in here doing nothing, not defending these stalkers from these Zerglings. But these stalkers are doing a great job of picking off what they can, and they probably will be able to handle everything that was there. Looks as if we've got a blink attack coming in here from Mass. He's got his blink and he's prepared to use it. These Colossi now forming a massive arc. You do not want to be on the other side of this. This is like War of the Worlds times 10, with these guys just standing off there, laser beams going everywhere, and hopefully Tom Cruise is dead from that one. But we have some mutilaries that have popped out here from Natholomas. Not sure where he got the money from that. Perhaps it was from the money that, of course, is given by, what's this guy's name again? But we'll see what happens. Rise of Rice has come over here. He's taken the gold expansion there, the final gold expansion left on the map. And it looks as if we've got KillaZerg losing a lot of infrastructure here with no way to counter back, because even though KillaZerg has been doing a great job, the only units left for KillaZerg are gateway units. And of course, as any Protoss player will know, if you PvP, you do not want to have just gateway units against this many Colossi. In fact, I suppose if it's any sort of matchup, you don't want to have just ground units against Colossi like this. So these guys running around, just ripping apart everything. DukeLipy calling the only hope, as I think, I'm not really sure who he's referring to. I'm presuming he's referring, KillaZerg with some Void Rays here. So the Void Rays will need to be very careful and very nimble with the way they attack into this force, because of course, unless they build up their level 3 pretty quickly, the Stalkers will come across and rip them apart. But it looks as if they may be able to, because the Stalkers are a bit preoccupied with attacking the buildings of DukeLipy, and DukeLipy is I think they all have control of KillaZerg's units, because everyone is now having a go at using KillaZerg's units, and the Void Rays are going to need to be careful here. The Stalkers have blinked across. They are going to take out some of these Void Rays, and they do go down, although I think there are some more resupplies coming through. And it looks as if Mass Zerglings is coming in from Natholomas. He is not dead. He has not been destroyed. He is coming in here with these Zerglings, going to try and surround what he can and get rid of these Protoss forces. But the Void Rays are still popping out for KillaZerg, and of course these Void Rays are just being microed around here. they will be able to take care of all these Colossi, and in fact some Vikings are out here from Rice, once again being the master of anti-air in this matchup. But it looks as if the Void Rays are still not really sure who's going to win this battle. It looks as if eventually the Vikings will win, of course, but the Void Rays are going to be going down. They have been taking shots from these Mutalisks along with these Stalkers as well. And finally, these extra Void Rays come out, and that'll be enough of these Colossi. They will be shot down, and that will be the end of this massive battle. So finally, we get a huzzah from KillaZerg. And that is the end of that one. Meanwhile, down here, mass probes are coming from Dlanor. They are going to try and take shots at what Prateek has. Of course, they do get ripped up because the Marines do 70 billion damage per second. And the battle cruisers are now out for Prateek as well. So Prateek spending up his money, finally spending up those few $1,000 that he actually had left. And he's going to try and use some battle cruisers to take care of these Void Rays. He's going to need to use the Yamato if he has it, and he does indeed. Not sure why he's retreating. Of course, I suppose he does. Actually, if you have a look at that, KillaZerg actually has +1 to shields, which is something you rarely ever see from Protoss, especially as a first up upgrade. But it looks as if they will provide some defense against these Stalkers, which are blinking across, although the Stalkers, great little job there from Mass. He's been a fantastic player this whole game. Along, of course, with KillaZerg doing a great job. And it looks as if, essentially, Team 1 is now down to this mining base only. They cannot get a hold of this gold, although Prateek is doing his best to try and grab what he can from it. But we see here mass Marines, a few one Thor, and a couple of battle cruisers are all that is left from Team 1, along with, of course, a few random scattered units from various players here. Another battle cruiser popping out as well. So I think we all know which way this is going to go, because Rise of Rice has picked up a whole bank of his own. He's got his own 3,000 minerals and 2,000 gas, so he's going to need to mass up what he can. He's still sitting at 123 supply over 134, so he's still got a lot of room to move there if he can. Hopefully he'll pump out some more units, and he is indeed. He's got some tanks on the way, a lot of Marines as well. It looks as if he is actually going to be one of the final players to actually have a fighting force in this game. Natholomas coming across with these Zerglings. They're going to try and come around the back and flank these tanks. They do indeed get onto the tanks, but of course these tanks, as we mentioned earlier, have +2 to their upgrades. Going to need to be careful there. Rise of Rice is actually losing some of these tanks. Loses a couple of tanks, but not going to be too much of a consequence, because if he marches over here and sets up a nice position, he can actually lay waste to this expansion here, and that'll pretty much be it for Team 1. They will have no other income, of course. The Vikings now flying around trying to spot what they can, seeing if any more Colossi are around, but looks as if Mass has switched to a mass ground-based army this time. A whole heap of Stalkers. There are a lot of Void Rays here, but they're not being microed out by KillaZerg, so KillaZerg's going to lose every single Void Ray here. Some DTs coming across, in fact, from KillaZerg, which are going to take out some of those units, but not enough. There was an Observer here, which is a great little addition to that army from Mass, and of course it looks as if Prateek is coming along with his own Thors, Marines, and battle cruisers as well. They're going to clean up the rest of KillaZerg's base. Meanwhile, down, if we have a look at Team 1's base, these probes of Dlanor are still running around causing a bit of havoc, and we're going to need to see Rise move up just a little bit to make sure he can take out the expansions he can. His Vikings doing a great job of picking up some of these expansions as well. If we have a look on the army tab, of course, we've got Prateek with an army of 97 supply, Natholomas with a supply of 10. That's just in these few Zerglings here, guys, don't be confused. And we have, what do we got? We got nothing too much, of course, from, who's player Teal? Scavenger? I keep forgetting because it left earlier. Nothing from Scavenger, of course. Mass with his own little army here of 81 supply. Nothing from DukeLipy, of course. Nothing really from Dlanor now that his probes are all dead. And we have 133 supply here from Rice. So he's essentially one of the only players here with a sizable army to try and combat what Prateek has here. So he's going to need to use his Marines quite effectively here, because there only are a few Marines. If the tanks can take out these Thors, then they'll be in a really good position. But the tanks sieging up now. The Marines moving into position to block those Marines of Prateek, but it's not going to be enough there. The tanks do get rid of most of the units of Prateek, but there's still just ripped apart by the Protoss forces that come in from Mass. Mass doing a great job, of course, of supporting his team here. And Prateek still with these battle cruisers, which may be one of the deciding factors of this game. We'll have to wait and see. It depends how well he can control them against his the arch nemesis, the Vikings over here. So we'll see what happens. This little base here, this is an interesting one. This is probably the first time I've seen a natural expansion be one of the last surviving unmined bases. So that's a little bit of an odd one there from this matchup. But as we can see, this one's gone. This is essentially dead. There's a little bit there. Perhaps if someone wants to start long distance mining, they will be able to do something there. Looks as if these Vikings are flying around trying to pick off what they can, but the Zealots coming across, and the Zealots are going to rip up those Vikings, and indeed they do fly away. The Stalkers attempting to blink after them to make sure they can shoot down what they can. They do get a few, but they do eventually get away. So nothing too much happening on the production tab. As you can see here, we've only got a couple. We've got 7 gateways coming up from KillaZerg. Perhaps some leftover minerals were there. Indeed there are. There's just on 2,500 minerals left, and it looks as if KillaZerg may be the one who's going to need to sort of man up and actually pick up some units. Going to need to be careful with these probes. These deadly assassin probes are going to be hunted down by these Zealots. They're going to be ripped up there. The tanks, however, coming along. Siege mode going up. Not the greatest idea, perhaps, given that there were only some Zealots. But Yamato's going off here. Yamato's going off on the command center of Rice. He's going to lose that one eventually. But it looks as if these Zealots and the Stalkers have blinked in here on top of these tanks and the Marines as well. But there are just enough forces here from Rice to protect his expansion there. The Vikings now coming in from the side. He's going to need to be careful. There are some Thors hidden under there. I'm not sure how you can hide Thors. They're so big. But it seems as if the battle cruisers are big enough. And these gateways are now producing. These are actually going the old-fashioned way of actually producing them straight out of the gateways, because there is no warp gate tech, or because the cyber's dead. There is there is warp gate tech. I don't know what I'm saying here, guys. I've never actually lost a cyber with warp gate done, so I didn't actually know that one. But either way, the warp gates are done. These charge lots are out. They do have their charge, of course, and they've got 111 upgrades, so they will be able to make light work of these Thors, of course. But the Thors, of course, are now also backed up by these battle cruisers, and the battle cruisers are slowly chasing after these Vikings, which are attempting to get away. Perhaps if they fly down to this little area here and then just sort of run along that road, they might be able to get away. But let's have a look at what's happening here. We've got a whole bunch of probes coming out here from Scavenger. They're sending in the leftover probes. Scavenger, who is, of course, left the game a long time ago when his Void Ray into mass Let's Charge at the Stalker attack actually lost. But the probes are doing a nice job here. They're going to block up these Zealots for just a moment. Looks as if he will be able to take out some of these units if they can keep any anti-air forces at bay. These battle cruisers, of course, will be able to slowly tear apart all of Team 2's expansions and bases and what have you all over here. Looks as if the final forces, the final remnants, in fact, of Dlanor are actually going to get pulled apart here. The gateway is finally switching in there. A little bit late with that one. You might want to warp in somewhere else, perhaps. I'm not really sure what KillaZerg was going to try and do there, but the Stalkers, there are a few Stalkers coming out here. Perhaps send these probes down to attack. I'm not really sure. Looks as if the Vikings from Rice still doing a lot of harassment here. As you can see, they are running around here. They will get eaten up by these charge lots, though. One still survives, so Rise of Rice still stuck there on just one Viking left over. And it looks as if he's attempting to come over to this expansion, but this Stalker is just in the way. They move it out of the way, and it looks as if now Rice will be able to come here and try and have a go at mining this expansion. He does have just this one command center with no other supporting command centers, so he can't drop a whole fleet of mules, but he will certainly be able to drop a couple, and that will give him a little bit of income. You can see on the resource tab, everyone is pretty much out of minerals here. No useful amounts of minerals at all, although some of these guys still have a fair bit of gas, which is a bit surprising to see. Of course, we didn't actually see all of the gas-intensive units from some of these players. Some of them stuck with gateways, some of them stuck with some of the lower-tier units, of course. But we'll see what's happening here, because this is a bit of a stalemate at the moment, because, of course, we do have a little bit coming in from KillaZerg, but there's really no way that these guys can actually build up any units for the moment, because of course these battle cruisers are so powerful and they are incredibly hard to stop. There is one Viking, a mass amount of micro going on here from Team 2. In fact, that's someone else controlling that Viking. It does go down, however. And it looks as if these probes are going to be the final stand against this Stalker. Not really doing too much, though. The SCV is coming in to repair this battlecruiser. It has taken a fair bit of damage. A couple of these battlecruisers have taken a little bit of damage, but they will be fine to take on the remaining forces of Team 2. And it looks as if Rice has dropped his mules down here on this expansion. They're going to take up this expansion as much as they can and get any minerals out of it that they are able to. And it looks as if Mass is the only one who's decided that long distance mining may be a clever idea. So he's the only one who's going to have a little bit of income, of course, apart from Rice. But as we can see, these battlecruisers still moving around here. Dlanor has not rebuilt his base, so he's finally out of the game there. Well, will be shortly. Once all of these forces go down, he is, however, still trying to use some of these units the other guys have. KillaZerg microing around some probes, not really doing too much, of course. So I'm not really sure where this game is going to go from now. I might just speed it up just a tad so we can see what happens here. The looks as if we've got some probes coming around from Dlanor, just scouting around to see what they can do. These racks from DukeLipy, these ones that just flew around randomly, have now finally been destroyed. And it seems as if this is once again a stalemate, because the well, not a stalemate, it's sort of a stalemate in the fact that the battlecruisers are just going to tear apart everything. Although we do have a little bit of a counter here from Rice. He has built up a few Vikings, and it looks as if he may be able to pick off the battlecruisers. He's done the best that he can. He's actually reduced it to just the 2 battlecruisers, and of course, if Rice can get rid of these battlecruisers, then he will be in a fantastic position to actually kill off the rest of the base from Team 1. As we mentioned there, we've got a probe army attack here from KillaZerg, actually just coming in here to try and kill off some of these units. Somehow a Phoenix is out from Scavenger. Someone must have built that in his leftover Stargate, which he does have here. But as we can see, the battlecruisers are still alive, and they are still attacking a lot of these buildings here. And there's really no way that he can defend the battlecruisers if the Vikings come along. And it looks as if the Vikings finally go down there. Fortunately, a little bit of micro there just lets down Rise of Rice there, and finally that one does die. The probe army is now attempting to defend this expansion here. A probe sniping away an SCV that came across. It looks as if Natholomas wants to bring a queen into battle. A couple of zealots are here as well. They're going to be able to hack away at these probes. This is essentially the final stand here. This is your Echoes of the Void battle, something like that, where you've got just the final stand. A queen is not going to survive there. Mass has left the game, so essentially probably one of the best players in this whole game has now left the game. His resources will be transferred over to everyone else. As you can see, though, Rice still just sort of dropping his mules in here, getting a little bit of income. He's probably just going to try and pick up a couple of Vikings if he can. It looks as if the battlecruisers did get picked off. Sorry, we didn't actually see that. Yeah, one Viking actually, looks as if one Viking actually picked off the last remaining battlecruiser there. And once again, these probes coming in to try and attack the supply depots of Prateek. And Prateek, of course, actually doesn't really have any resources to build with, so I'm not really sure what the point of that is. But either way, if you can destroy buildings, that may actually save you the game. And it looks as if some the leftover probes from Mass are still being used by Team 1. And of course, he's just trying to get whatever he can there. And as we can see, what are we actually doing here in this game? I'm not really sure what's going on. These guys are still sort of trying to mine what they can. There you go. This is the last force, I would suspect, coming out of Rice here. He's just got a few Marine, and one Marauder that are going to be able to do what they can. As we can see here, the Marines and Marauders will have +1/+1 coming across to try and defend this expansion. 2 Stalkers going to town on the command center. Got it to half health. It looks as if the Marauder gets picked off. The Marines are still alive, though. This is pretty much the end here, because these Marines, this is all down to 8 Marines, guys. This is the only forces left here. One does go down. It looks as if the GG is finally picked up from Natholomas there. He's had enough, and I think he's probably had enough since the start of the game. 6 Marines left. This is all that is left here from Team 2. The barracks goes down. The barracks finally is destroyed there. everything goes down, and Team 2 wins an absolutely huge game on Megaton. So that was a great little 4v4 there. Hopefully you guys like that one. For those of you who haven't seen team games, that's not always what happens in team games, where you have them go that long and be that exciting, but it is very much what can happen in team games. As we saw, essentially the whole map is basically mined out, apart from a couple of these tiny little patches that have nothing left on them anyway. So a fantastic little game there from these players. Full credit to Team 2 for holding off those battle cruisers eventually with some nice little micro on those Vikings, picking off the battle cruisers from 6 screens away, because that's how far Vikings can shoot. And just doing a great job saving up some money and just investing in these Marines and finishing off the game. So hopefully you guys like that one, just something a little bit different, a little bit more fun than the analyzing the pro Korean replays, that sort of thing. So if you want to see more of that, make sure you let me know, and I'll see if I can find some more, or in fact do as Rice did and send me some yourself. So if you have some replays of, I don't care if they're 1v1, if they're 4v4, send them through. If you're bronze, if you're gold, if you're Diamond League, if you're Masters, I don't really care. Send something through and let me know what you want to do with it, and we'll get it casted and put it up. So thanks very much for watching this one, guys. Cheers.